Hey, how's it going?
We are back again, twice in 1 week.
It's
Because we're
horrible.
dedicated vloggers. It's great.
This is vlog 40 something. Pretty soon we'll be coming up to our 1 year anniversary and also like a 50th vlog at some point. We should probably do something special for that.
Yeah, if you have any idea what you'd like to see as a 50th vlog special,
Yeah, I don't know.
let us know.
Something good.
In the meantime, we're going to answer some more questions because we're still refilling with questions in the box and we don't want you guys to be left out. And somebody emailed us and was like, my questions got eaten, and so we're going to catch up on those too. So our first question: I love the Axiom Intelligence knack, but I hardly see anybody use it. It got me to thinking, what are some of your favorite underused or underrated powers? Frankly, all the PSPs. I think people don't PSP enough,
Except Jeff.
except Jeff. Jeff
Jeff
PSPs
PSPs
constantly. Giants
Same grade
always
too.
doing it, but like stuff like we see people use low level May, but we don't see much in the way of. For example, I guess we see Arete because it works all the time.
Right.
I guess what we really want is to see more people with different purviews or pantheons using them. So all of our babies that are in the Pestajet and the Anunna and the Yazada PSP more. Because they're just very cool culture specific powers, and so they're really neat to see in action. So I always want to see those. Anything in particular you think of that people don't use much? I think the chaos and the moon purviews don't get used as much as I'd
Yeah, we
love
don't.
to see
I
them.
just have a lot of people doing those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think part of the problem is that people that have those tend to die because they make bad choices, which is a thing that you live with when you're a chaos guy. Sometimes you make bad choices. But
Yeah, so I would say like specific ones that like we love that don't get used though. I don't particularly think so. Usually, if I love something and it doesn't get used, I use it as an NPC, and everybody's like, "Wait, that does that? That do who? That's amazing."
And I love story vehicle powers, but our players are rightfully afraid of them, so they don't use things like Deus Ex Machina or Out of the Frying Pan very often because they're dangerous. But when they do use them, it's like a fun party, and I'm excited about it. So our next question, unless you have other ones.
Nope.
Is that all right? Outside of your games, but with one killing the other and all, how would you describe the relationship between Ra and Horus? Just from a basic mythological setting kind of point of view?
Yeah, it's difficult to answer questions where you ask us how gods feel about other gods,
Yeah, I mean,
especially when we don't have actual interaction between them.
Yeah, Ra and Horus actually almost never interact ever in Egyptian mythology. One of them is so old and from like a previous stratus of myth that they don't have a lot of interaction. Horus is Ra's descendant, but they don't get together and hang out or anything.
Right, so it's that.
Yeah, exactly. The last person like on that tree, Osiris hangs out with Ra, but Horus and Set don't. Horus and Set don't have a lot of, or Horus and Ra don't have a lot.
I would
of
say
stuff in
Ra probably sees Horus as a little kid that does like adorable little kid things.
I mean, like you probably
Like,
use
oh,
most
they
of
want to
them.
fight over the country, and oh, he wants to, stick his penis in the salad of his friend.
Historically speaking, Horus gets a lot of his associations because of syncretization with Ra. A lot of the things he does originally were covered by Ra, and then as Osiris became popular, Horus's cult also became popular. So things like Horus being a sun god is actually really just from syncretization with Ra, who was the original falcon sun god. And his connection to the pharaohs as well was originally the pharaohs would be considered the sons of Ra, and then later when Horus became the major god associated with kingship, they become the sons of Horus. But so they have a lot of stuff in common, but Ra probably views him as, it's like when you have he's his mini-me. Like he's a little tiny guy that does the same stuff he does, and Ra probably thinks it's cute. And Horus probably respects him because he's the giant god of their pantheon. But also Horus is a king in his own right, and he probably would prefer not to have to, go to Ra when he wants to do things, so just do them.
Also, Ra probably hates his mother, so there's probably some difference.
Yeah, Ra and Isis very much not get along, and so Horus may get some of that as a trickle down, like just fuck Isis and her family. So again, gets along okay with Osiris, but I think some of that's sympathy because Osiris ends up dying, and so Ra's like, well, stop bitching, you're gonna get special treatment. So
Yeah.
all right, our third question. In regards to the Anunna PSP of May, I noticed the second level boon, Direction of May. All the abilities are represented, but Brawl is the only one that is not. Is that intentional?
I don't remember. I feel like I don't do things unintentionally, so.
We made that table intending to not represent most of the abilities, but also intending to put them with purviews that they went with. Like we weren't going to be like, well, we have to fudge some in somewhere they don't belong just so that we get them all in there, I don't think Brawl couldn't be somewhere. It'd probably be in the war if it was anywhere.
War's got warlike ones.
War does have warlike ones as command and melee already, which make more sense.
It's got marksmanship melee.
What way? Because I think marksmanship is in 2 of them, but then those things make sense. So it's not like we're disenfranchising the brawlers or
The only real one I think it could fit in would be animal.
Oh, I could maybe see it in animal.
And so we're gonna have to shoehorn it somewhere, unless animal has 2 that can only go in animal, like animal can.
Animal can and survival.
Survival's probably in a lot of other things.
It probably is. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in some of the fertility and stuff. So
I
maybe.
could see us putting May animal being Brawl.
Brawl in animal. We could do that. We may do it when we're doing updates. We might not. Who knows?
Did we ever go through it when we did the artistry? Right.
We did. Only one. We did. We removed all the crafts and stuff and replaced them with arts or academics were
We
appropriate.
may need to go back to that.
So yeah, we may want to double check it, make sure there's nothing that's overbalanced.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. So we'll get on that one day.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be in the poll.
So, if an Aztec Scion marries an Egyptian Scion, how would that affect both pantheons? The example is a Scion of Quetzalcoatl that marries a Scion of Bastet.
What? What's going on?
I mean, pantheons that marry in a politically strategic way means that they're going to be involved in some political way. So, for example, the Protogenoi of the Astalante might say, okay, well, if we have problems or conflicts, the other pantheon has to help us now because we're related by marriage. Related by marriage. Depending on the gods involved, they might have specific things, depending on like the dowries or bride prices involved. Like, it really depends on what's specifically happening.
Treat it like ancient marriages, ancient royal marriages, and then kind of go from there. Noble, I guess, more than royal, but
yeah. So how the circumstances of their marriage came about and who the exact parents are. Like if you're doing Quetzalcoatl and Bastet, Quetzalcoatl is one of the Tezcatlipoca. He's a pretty big deal. Bastet's a daughter of Ra, so it's a pretty good match. But they're not the like super level of kings, so they probably are. It's not going to be the whole pantheon has to mobilize all the time to deal with them, but they are still going to affect policy on both sides, probably.
Also, the idea that of marrying for love is very modern.
Yeah.
There are a few cases that are like the romantic poetry of the ancient world, where some people do marry for love. Like Zeus obviously loves Hera.
Yeah, the Anunna are very guilty of that.
Yeah, like I love this person, so I'm marrying them. But for the most part, that's probably not true. And who a Scion marries probably isn't something that they actually get to decide.
Yeah, and if they did decide it, it's really likely that in the background their parents went, okay, I can use that in some way. I'll let it happen so I can get something happen. So you may want to say, what are Quetzalcoatl and Bastet trying to get out of this? What do they expect to happen for them that is a good thing that they wanted this marriage to go forward? Instead of trying to torpedo it some way, and believe me, they could have if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to think, well, my parents love me and they'll just want me to be happy, but they're gods and they have a lot of political stuff going on, so there's probably a reason beyond just liking you.
And also probably remember, it's a giant political web and all the other gods have interest in that marriage as well. Like, another pantheon doesn't want to see the Aztecs and the Pesajit become one giant pantheon. Like,
right.
It'd be way too powerful, so other pantheons would be doing stuff to mitigate that marriage.
So they may do things around that marriage. They may cause other problems so that the marriage isn't really helping. They may try to get their own marriages in.
Yeah, lots of stuff could happen.
So it's a big giant question. If you have like more specifics, we could talk about more specifics, but
infinite.
Yeah. Second question: which Aztec gods might have virtues other than the regular Aztec ones? I don't know. I mean, I always want to say Tezcatlipoca probably has malice because as a dude that just enjoys the suffering of others.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of trickster gods are like that. So
yeah,
it's hard
very
to
possibly
tell.
has malice. I would buy that.
Oh gosh, I don't think any of them. I mean, most of them are pretty solid on their virtues. Like there's not. I would say are...
Frost dude doesn't have courage.
That's right. It's the Uke. Kind of by definition doesn't have courage. Like his whole thing is he's too afraid to do things. So unless you want to run him as like tragically failing his courage rolls a bunch, probably he's just a coward, and so he has something different than courage.
Quetzalcoatl's daughter doesn't have loyalty.
Yeah, Xochitl directly tried to steal her people from her father, and that might be an expression of super duty. Like she was like, my father's not doing it, and I want to take them, but I don't have the loyalty to him personally, so I'm just going to take it instead of trying to work with him to fix it. Yeah, Shalobal's also got a story where he tries to hide the void getting sacrificed, and so he probably also doesn't have courage. Being a psychopomp, he may have something like harmony instead. And then there's the folks like Quetzalcoatl that are kind of pan-Mesoamerican, and depending on how you want to play their personalities, you could say they have different virtues, like from their Mayan incarnations or their Toltec incarnations or whatever, but it depends really on how you're playing them. Quetzalcoatl among the Aztecs is pretty much does the Aztec stuff, so... I don't think any other ones leap to mind for me.
I think so.
Alrighty, and then, oh, you know what? Quetzalcoatl probably has order.
Right.
She's a crazy person.
Yeah, she's pretty crazy order.
Yeah. And it may be instead of loyalty again, so that she can get on people who are she would normally be loyal to.
Yeah.
And then last question for today. Have you guys ever considered adding a third level of power above the divine in the Titanic? Like the Protogenoi of Greece, it would be a category for giant cosmic deities like Olodumare or Ophion. It seems dissonant to me that something like Olodumare and someone like Uke Mochi or Hestia are on the same power level.
Well phrased. Good use of verbiage. We considered it. I mean, theoretically, that's what the original idea of a Titan realm was supposed to be.
Right. Like the things like Ophion are actually the realm, and then the avatars are the people like Hestia.
Yeah.
Not those two together, but...
Not only did I think that didn't add anything, but I thought it really detracted from having those things as characters, as having them as concepts greater than characters. I think characters that you could interact with are more enjoyable and they add more to the story. Especially since in mythology they are always things you can interact with.
Yeah, I mean, you can go talk to Uranus if you want to. Nobody does, but you can. You could go talk to Olodumare. The Orisha do talk to him sometimes, or at least send messengers up to him. He's definitely there.
So that's why the original didn't work. A system where those people were just infinitely more powerful, like the gods are infinitely more powerful than demigods. I don't think that adds anything kind of fun or exciting. Without it may seem a little dissonant, but those creatures aren't a level of power above. They're just older usually. Most stories are about how the gods are able to destroy them, capture them, imprison them.
Annoy them until they leave forever.
And so it's not about them being more powerful. It's never about that. They usually are very creative, created the earth, or were some massive force, but eventually the gods as we know them now, what we would call the Legend 12 gods, overtake them. Yeah. And so for that reason it doesn't make sense. It should be dissonant. What's the opposite of dissonance?
Resonant.
Resonant. It should be resonant that they can't be a full power level higher than the gods, because then the gods would be unable to beat them like a demigod can't beat a god.
Yeah, and it's partly when you talk about power levels, the fact that, I mean, Titans are generally the same power level, but they don't all do the same thing, and they don't have the same motivations, and it's not really useful to talk about their power level the same way it's not useful to talk about Apollo and Zeus being the same power level. Because technically they are, but you also know that Zeus could probably curb stomp Apollo, and that doesn't mean Apollo's not a Legend 12 god. There's a lot of that, because there's so many cultures involved, and because each religion has different ideas of what their gods do and how powerful they are, the system has to make lines somewhere. It can't just say, we're going to add Legend 14 because we don't know what to do with this. And it actually, I think it not only doesn't add anything to the game, I think it actually hurts it. Because one of the big draws and one of the big mythically resonant things about Scion is that you as the PC can become almost the most powerful thing that exists. And the more layers of stuff more powerful that you can never be, that you add, the less that actually is there in the game. So right now, you become a being that is the most powerful in existence. The only things that can challenge you are other gods and titans, which are all basically the same power level as you. If you add something that you say, okay, now the Protogenoi are a whole level higher, and you can never compete with them, then you're not really playing, you're still playing as a god, but you've taken away that gods have ultimate power idea, and that sucks for the players. And I'm not sure it would add anything to the game as a whole to do that. Mm-hmm. And you have folks it is a little weird to say, okay, well, Hestia is a titan and Olodumare is a titan, and they don't seem like this similar kind of being. But it's really about their personalities and choices more than about some cosmic game mechanic. Because the reason that a lot of titans are titans is because either they don't like humanity, or they oppose the gods, or they're just really far distant from humanity. And that's what those gods both do. Olodumare specifically went away, said, I'm distancing myself not only from humanity, but from the other gods. You can only reach me through prayer, through conduits, through, don't bother me, basically. And he becomes kind of a textbook titan. Hestia doesn't do that specifically, but she does say, I'm leaving the gods, I'm handing it over to a younger god, I'm becoming something that represents things but isn't really actively involved anymore, which is basically the same thing. And we're never going to talk about Hestia and Olodumare getting into a fight. We really don't need to be like, God, can we measure their power level against each other? We're talking about concepts that are personified, rather than, is this deity have more points than another one, Did that make sense?
I think so. It was a little long-winded.
Sorry about the long-windedness. But basically, I don't think a third level would add anything. And the Titans right now, it seems a little dissonant because some religions will say this person's all powerful and some religions won't say the same thing about a Titan that are theoretically about equal in the game system. But as long as you're not playing them, like unless you decide you're going to go play Hestia as omnipotent or something, it's not going to be an issue, you know? And that's all I got there.
Yeah, all right.
That's all our questions today.
Vlog over.
Thanks, you guys.
Like and subscribe, and then comment on what we can do for a big, like, 50th anniversary thing.
Yeah, can we do something exciting?
50th anniversary, 50 week anniversary.
I don't know what it would be.
1 year. I don't know.
Who knows?
Okay, cool.
Something.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.